Hi, welcome to your Monday Mindset Moment. This is Vanessa Callahan, lead coach and founder at Raising Our Resilience. So good to have you here. You might be joining me on Zoom or in our Raising Our Resilience parent group, or possibly watching the replay on YouTube. So glad you're here. Let me know if you're watching the replay. Just put the word replay in the comments or the chat and drop in any questions that come up, any takeaways, things that really stand out to you that you want to remember. We're going to be talking today about calm that lasts through the ages and stages of childhood. And this is a great one, especially for you all to, really tune into the developmental stage of your child and our children. As you're thinking about ways to build their emotional resilience, give them tools that they can use to, soothe themselves, to cope with difficult emotions, navigating meltdowns, tantrums, power struggles, grief, fears, and anger, things that come up as we are navigating this time of going back to school after our break. So glad you're here. We've got somebody here on Zoom with us. It's Todd. Hey, Todd. Todd is one of my smart big-hearted clients who's part of the immersion program. Glad you're here today. Todd, let me know what questions you have, if any, as we go. You know how this works. So let's dive right in. We are going to talk first about young kids and young emotions, but I don't want you to tune out if you have older kids who are over age 6, because what is going on with young children is what we all can at times revert to when we're very upset, or like we like to say, our lids are all the way off. And we're kind of in that beast mode where there's really not a lot of higher cognition happening. We're not able to access memories, good decision-making skills. It's hard to make lots of decisions and choices. We might even make some bad choices without thinking about the consequences when we're upset. So listen carefully to this. So creating lasting calm for young children is really about helping them get more comfortable with having emotions in the first place and making sense of those experiences with those emotions. And so one of the first things you can do is help them with the basics of, emotional self-awareness, and give them tools and strategies and a wide variety of them of how they can cope with those emotions. So first is naming the emotion, and the really simple 4 emotions that we like to kind of bring things down to is mad, sad, glad, and scared. Mad, the message being, I know what I want, but you or the situation won't give it to me. Grr. Now I'm irritated to rageful, right? Mad. Sad, I know what I want. I used to have it and now I don't. And I'm sad about it, right? I miss it, from like lightly missing to, really feeling that sense of deep grief. So that's the message of sad. Mad, sad, glad, I know what I want and I have it. Yay. Woohoo, I'm excited. This is going to be fun. Or I'm like, I'm so hyper excited. I can't contain it. From just mild enthusiasm to like uncontained joy, unbridled joy, as we like to say. That's glad. Scared is when you need something, but you either don't know what it is. So you have this feeling of, I need something, but something's not right. Or I know I need something and I don't know how to get it. Like maybe I'm too close to the spider, and I don't know how to get away from it. That could be a mild scare, right? To I'm really scared of all things having to do with dogs. I can't even see a dog without getting scared, right? Because I don't know what to do with that feeling when it comes up, except to climb my dad and hide, right? I had a client with a child who would do just that, and we worked through it. And one of the first steps we did with that child, I'll use this as an example, is we helped him to identify what he was feeling, what was he experiencing, what made sense about it, and what maybe didn't make sense about it. With little kids, they have such limited life experience. And when our lids are all the way off, we can't access our life experience as easily, that this is a time that you just want to help the child feel and identify their emotion and move through it as much as possible. I want to give a little shout out to Shalini and Ani who are here. Hey, say hello in the comments and chat on Zoom. Let me know if you have any questions or takeaways that pop up for you as we go through the stages. So at the very base level, helping kids name and make sense of their emotion and find a tool or two or three that really works for them to put their lid back on. It actually works for all ages when you're in that state. of overwhelm. In psych, we call it flooding, when you feel like flooded, and also to understand that it's going to probably take between 30 seconds and 20 minutes for them to resolve this emotion enough so that they're kind of back into a more regulated state and they're acting more their age. Now, if it's a very young child, their age is still very much temperamental, have limited life experience to draw from, and you're going to be showing them, teaching them, co-regulating with them quite a bit. But if they're a slightly older child or even an adolescent or an adult, hopefully then they'll have their, life experience, their faculties will come back and you'll be speaking to a more mature and working with a more mature nervous system. Yeah. So that's the very first thing. And then why that can last through the ages and stages is because it really is a great foundation to build on so that you can get into the nuances of like being ambivalent and having two emotions at one time. Complex emotions like envy and jealousy, you can start to grapple with as they get older, if you can tie it back to these foundational mad, sad, glad, and scared emotions. So if you have not yet worked with this sort of like framework of 4 emotions and identifying their messages and helping them figure out how they're going to soothe themselves when these emotions come up, and also haven't built in the patience to wait until they've downregulated and they've been soothed and they're kind of calmer before you jump into problem solving, do that. No matter what age your child is, build that foundation with them. Okay. And this is something I advise all my clients to do. And like I just had a session with one of my clients who has an adult child at home, and this is something she didn't grow up with. And so she's really filling that kind of backfilling that gap in her own childhood and even in her parenting life, and is now working with this tool as a woman in her 60s with a child in his 20s, figuring this out and making huge gains. It's bringing her closer to her son. It's bringing their conversations to a new level, and it's helping her be more attuned to him. And he's really feeling that and is relying on her more in a really healthy way. So we all want that, right? In the end of the day, improved relationships with our kids that are really rock solid. So how we're going to level this up, though, to make sure we're not kind of, cruising at this base level only, is that once your child has calmed down, and especially if they're older, then you can start shifting into helping them really make sense of their experience. You can do this with younger children too, very lightly. It's like, oh, it looks like not every dog wants to bite you. That's really good to know. Some dogs are safe dogs, and some dogs, we need to be careful around because we don't know if they're safe or not. We want to make some space. So what's one way we can figure that out, right? And this is what my client did with his their son, who was so scared of dogs, is they acclimated him and kept helping him update what we call a perception database of like, how do we perceive this thing as a threat or not a threat, safe or unsafe, as friendly or unfriendly, like all these different ways that we can kind of interpret things just kind of automatically. We need to update that database so our automatic reactions are more varied and more nuanced over time. So it's not always dog bad, right? It's like dog ? Let's find out. So working with your child and like making sense of their experience and helping them with this perception database is really the next stage. And so that's where you do want to maybe revisit, like what happened? What was your experience like? How did you feel that in your body? Was it true, this thing that you were worried about, or this thing that you were angry about? Like, was it true that they were trying to take your turn away? Was it true that your sister hid your pencil from you? Was it true that the spider was trying to get you? Kind of like test out the stories and assumptions and perceptions we have against reality, and helping kids like basically continue to learn about their environment and how and when it's really important that they let that fear and that anger and that sadness take over, and when maybe it was a misperception. One thing you can do, especially with sadness, is you can help kids, and this is especially important in adolescence because we all have loss in adolescence. That friend who was my friend is no longer my friend. It will happen by adolescence, right? And this is also for older childhood, ages like 8 and up, they experience the tweens. They've experienced this as well. So coping with loss is really important, and helping them see like what it is that they actually value in their lives. Often sadness is pointing to meaning, like what is meaningful about life. So they're sad that their friend is no longer a friend, and then you maybe identify some of the qualities of that friendship or that friend and say, wow, so it sounds like it's really important to you that you have people in your life who you can do fun things with and you can laugh with, and who also like to, like to listen to music. That's really important for you to know. And it's a good thing that you figured that out. And that's the kind of people you can keep looking for. I'm curious if there's anybody else who comes to mind, maybe we can spend some time with. You can also practice brainstorming for solutions once the emotions are addressed and they've been acknowledged and they get to really feel them. We're not jumping to solutions, but you can say, well, what's a way that you might be able to stay in touch with this friend? What do you think? Instead of just immediately going, well, you can be pen pals and you can write each other and you can visit them. It's like, well, sure, but they didn't actually get to kind of come up with those ideas themselves, and maybe they might even push back because they were your ideas instead of theirs. So maybe an open-ended question like, oh, I wonder, is there some way that you can keep in touch, and see what they think of. And maybe they'll even get, oh, you know what? They can soothe themselves. Oh, you know what? I actually like writing letters, or like, oh, we like playing Roblox, and we could log in at the same time, or whatever way that they're socializing outside of in-person time. So you can see how that can lead to more brainstorming and some collaboration with them, that feeling of you're on their team too, that you're taking it seriously enough, that you're paying attention, you're not just trying to get them to put the feeling away. Now, are there times that emotions are coming up and they're kind of misplaced? Yes, and that's where we go back to the perception database. Are you sure that she meant it that way? Like that comment that was made that you're having a reaction to. Why don't we go find out? Let's go see. Let's see let's ask her. Hey, when you said that, this is how it felt, but is that what you meant? Giving people the space to maybe some grace for miscommunication, or, figuring it out, or maybe sticking up for yourself if it does seem like it was really genuinely meant to be hurtful. Maybe you'll realize that you assumed something wrongly. So getting into that kind of conflict resolution space can actually be in great service for lasting calm and emotional resilience. That's why it's one of the pillars that we teach at Raising Our Resilience is conflict resolution and repair. But we don't teach it first. We teach it like fourth or fifth. And we teach emotional regulation skills way earlier because it's such a foundational piece. And the other thing you can look at in terms of lasting calm is like what possibly might be smoothed out about daily life for all ages and stages. Like, could your routines be a little bit more organized and smooth? Like, would it be helpful if everybody knew what their responsibilities were and when they needed to get done? These kinds of things. And we actually take the first month of the immersion to work on that, and even have a robust routines course that Shalini was a part of, to really get those routines running smoothly. Because when daily life runs more smoothly and you just have that practice of figuring it out together, it really does help create more of that calm and that ease in daily life. Another thing that we like to talk to parents about, and we coach them on in our second month of the immersion, and again 6 months later, is on limits and boundaries. Because if you're not clear about what the rules and expectations are, everybody's sort of compassless. You're just like, don't know what the rule sheet is, and that often can disrupt calm because it invites children to test the system to figure it out, especially younger children. I say younger and older children. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Your toddlers and your teens are going to be testing that. Excuse me. Yeah. And then the other thing that you're going to want to think about is around boundaries and limits is oftentimes what disrupts calm is there will be behaviors happening that don't align with your values and the kind of life that you want to create, the kind of human that you want to raise, the way we want people to treat each other in the home. And if you're not addressing those behaviors through the lens of like, let's create a mutual set of expectations and let's support each other in following those expectations. Let's make agreements about that. That's a lot of the work we do, right? I know Todd knows, with setting limits, like identifying what behavior are like in the red zone where we're going to address it every time. What behaviors fall in more of that like in between zone where sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. And what are the behaviors that we're promoting, right? Like things that we'd really love our kids to do. We have this tool we call the 3 zones of behavior that really helps with that. So if you want to create lasting calm in the stages of childhood, you kind of want to take a look at these, like the pillars of raising resilient kids. And you can take them one at a time. And I always want to start with the emotional mastery piece. And that's why we're focusing on that in our Calm Parent Switch series last season. And then also this talk as well. So if you were to do anything today, first thing I would do is really take a look at that mad, sad, glad, and scared piece. How can you start bringing in coping tools when big emotions come up? And how can you help your kids, once they're calm, make sense of those emotions? Then you can take a step back and say, what in the system of our family could we address to create more lasting calm with our routines and our expectations and how we handle conflicts? And there's other pieces as well. And if this is something that you know that you would like to continue addressing, we do have an opportunity for folks to join this January cohort of the immersion. So if that's something you'd like to explore further, just send me a message or hop on my calendar. I'll pop a link in for a parent strategy session if you haven't had one yet. And I know that some of you who are attending right now are already in the immersion. Some of you have been considering the immersion and are going to be coming up on a decision soon of whether you're joining in January or if you're going to want to look at another cohort. And some of you might just be hearing about this for the first time. It's a year-long immersion program where we walk you through the 7 pillars of raising resilient kids, including emotional mastery. And it's a structured program done with community and a great squad of mentors, including myself, where we, help you with all the different kinds of questions and topics that might come up and support you with the 7 pillars in mind, but also in a very personalized way based on your child's ages and stages and personalities and other qualities and challenges. So please let us know if that's something you would like to be like to explore further. Otherwise, we are concluding our Monday Mindset Moment. Hope that, even just the mad, sad, glad, scared messages will be helpful to you. Practice them, right? So what does each one mean? And if you can help your kids make sense of those emotions and choose one coping tool, you're already creating more lasting calm because you're empowering each individual in your family to identify their emotions, ask for what they need, soothe themselves, make sense of their experience, learn from it, and move on. And that does create that lasting calm. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up, but just to let you know, we're so excited that you're here, and it's always a pleasure to hear your feedback, your takeaways. So if you would just pop one thing in the chat or comments that you don't want to forget, that's good note-taking practice for you, but also highlights for us what you found valuable about these kinds of talks. And also want to give you a heads up that we have a free event coming up. Let's see if I can't pull the link for that real quick here. On January 23rd, it's a Monday. We're going to be getting together and talking about 5 motivation hacks. In the new year, a lot of folks are thinking about what new habits they want to establish, what goals they have, maybe what goals they have for each of their children. It's a great time to start the year off with motivation strategies. And so we have 5 motivation hacks for adults and kids too. And that's on January 23rd. It's a free session taught by myself and my co-facilitator, Dr. Luz Casquejo-Johnson. And we'll be so excited to share those with you. So I'll be making sure to put those into the chat and comments here in just a moment. I know that Todd said that the mad, sad, glad, and scared were the ones that he wanted, he wants to remember. And I'll be sure to share that resource with him from his course library as well. Anybody else have something that stands out to you? This is kind of last call for that while I pull up the link to the event for us all to be able to take a look at that January 23rd webinar. All right, go ahead and type your last thing, your comments. If you're watching the replay, you can put it in there with the word replay so we know which one you went to. We'd love to see that. Always, it's never too late to participate in these conversations. We see all your comments. Here you go. There's a link to the webinar while we're waiting for those comments to come in. If you have one last thing you wanted to share, go ahead and pop it in, some takeaway. And there's somebody here on Facebook, maybe say hi, and then come check out the motivation hacks yeah, it's like an online workshop, masterclass kind of format. We'll have time for live Q&A as well. And there's more information on the sign up page. All right, well, if there aren't any other comments or takeaways right now, feel free to drop them in on the YouTube video or on the Facebook post. And with that, I will send you off. Have a great rest of your day. Happy New Year to everybody. Lots of love until next time. Bye for now. Oh, there's Todd. Hey, Todd. It's mad, sad, glad, and scared. And we have a resource in your library that I'll be sure to share with you shortly. Okay. And we'll be reviewing it at the Emotional Mastery Weekend in February. So that'll be a big piece we'll go deeper in. All right. Lots of love to you all. Bye for now.